Good morning, teachers. It's Friday, so I hope you're having a really happy Friday wherever you are today. And as promised in my last video, today's session is going to be about wellness and supporting the well-being of your newly qualified teaching colleagues in your department. So the things I'm going to talk about to support well-being and mental health of your newly qualified teachers is also applicable to recently qualified teachers and also any initial teacher training students that you have in your department. I'm in such a super good mood today because I've just come off day 3 of Tony Robbins' 2022 Breakthrough Challenge. He's just amazing, all-round motivating guy. So without further ado, let's go on to item number 1. So the first and probably the most important thing that you can do to support the well-being and progress of your NQTs in your department is to build their confidence. And I know that is stating the obvious because as teachers, we're really good at building confidence of the students that we teach. It's second nature. It's maybe not always what we do when it comes to developing colleagues. If you think about the fact that we've just come out of 2 years of COVID lockdown, the chances are if you have a newly qualified teacher in your department, they've had a lot less in school or in-person classroom teaching experience than most teachers will have previously, and that might be affecting their confidence. These are the sorts of problems that teachers are talking about on like social media, the fact that these NQTs are feeling like they haven't got enough experience to go into schools, which they have, of course. It's just some of it might be remote teaching, for example. So how can you effectively build confidence in your NQTs? So there's lots of things you can do. The first thing is you need to be positive with them. Always be positive, even if deep down you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if you're going to cut it as a teacher. Don't let that feeling come across, okay? You want to just like build their confidence. So lots and lots of praise, make some observations, make the focus kind of like just the positives. What have they done well, or what can you see them improving or working towards on the teacher standards? If you are going to critique and give feedback, make sure that you are doing the feedback sandwich, as we call it in teaching circles. So if you basically start with a positive thing, something that they've done well, then you might want to put in the thing that they could improve on, or the critique in the middle, and then you're ending again on a positive note with something else they did well. The feedback sandwich will help your NQTs and your RQTs be much kind of more receptive to feedback. If they feel like it's always what they're doing wrong, what they need to work on, what they improve, they'll shut down from that. If there's any problems that you need to kind of like have a bit of a more serious discussion on, then always remember that you should praise in public and critique in private. Never put them down or critique them in front of the class or other colleagues. That's not a good way to kind of like build confidence of any teacher, but especially like newly qualified teachers. Okay, moving on. So number 2, and this is really interesting because I put out a poll on LinkedIn and I asked teachers in my network, what support did you wish that you'd had, or what did you think that you would have benefited more of when you were, training as a newly qualified teacher? And I put some options on and I thought I knew what the answer was going to be and what people wanted more of, and it surprised me. So the number 1 thing that topped the poll that newly qualified teachers would want more of is, wait for it, more time with you, the head of department, quality time with the head of department, one-on-one. So normally as a head of department, you give up at least one of your frees a week to spend, one-to-one time with the new staff, with the newly qualified teacher. And it's hard to find and give up more PPA time to spend with that person because we've got all the other responsibilities that come with the job. So other things that you can think about to kind of like get more time with them is possibly invite them in to come and watch you teach. Can you cover them for a lesson? Can you arrange like some internal covers so they can come and stand at the back of your room, watch you teach, and in those transition periods or the independent working periods of the lesson, you can have a chat with them, show them what you do. Again, model like good working practices. They will absorb so much from you and they'll really appreciate it. Also, in terms of one-on-one time, you've got to make out that you are accessible and you are approachable. Okay, make your NQT feel like they can come to you at any time for anything. Don't put on this like front that, oh, you're interrupting me, or I don't have time for this. And even though we're all busy, because they will read that back off you. If you're lucky enough to kind of like have any coaching skills in your repertoire, or you want to do a little bit of research on co-coaching, and you should be using that in your one-to-one time with the NQT or the RQT. I'd like to make another video with a teacher coach soon, so that maybe we can give you middle leaders some more coaching skills or some basic coaching tips that you can use in your department. And then tip number 3 is linked to performance management. So performance management is obviously how you set your targets and your appraisal objectives for your newly qualified teacher that they're working towards by the end of the year. And it's usually linked to the teacher standards. So you need to be mindful as a head of a department that you are giving them the right amount of targets, that you're not overburdening them and giving them too much to do. And you need to also, effectively communicate what are their interests in teaching. Are they more interested in SEN kids or pupil premium, or do they really have a thing about they want to like hook into stretch and challenge the gifted and talented people, And that should really feed in what are their strengths and interests in teaching, and feed those into their performance management. You should also make most of your targets, if possible, link back to that one class whose progress or data set is going to be linked to whether they get their pay rise or their promotion. Don't give them loads of other targets that are not directly going to help them to get promoted or go up the pay scale, because you're just going to make their life more difficult. So, for example, if they've got a middle ability group, make their targets towards, stretching the middle abilities, differentiating for the middle ability groups, perhaps develop a scheme of work that, stretches and challenges the middle ability, or something that interests them, give them, basically tie into what they're interested in and what they've got to do as part of their job anyway, so that their performance management process just happens really naturally. And that's always worked well. And the performance management is a two-way process, so they need to be given the chance to have a look at their targets, review them, make suggestions or changes, or give them the opportunity to flag if anything they think is overwhelming or they can't do or they're going to need support with. And then it's easier to kind of review them and keep them on track. And then lastly is just about being an effective communicator. So, every time you speak to your NQT, don't always make it about shop talk about teaching. Show an interest in them as a person, get to know them, what they like, what they dislike, make them feel like a valued member of staff of your department community. There've been times when I felt like a bit of an outsider when I started in my first job, and it's a lonely place to be. When I first started as an NQT, I got sick all the time, and my department used to joke and take bets on how long is she going to stay in teaching. She's not going to last out the year. Oh, she sits in that seat. Oh yeah, everyone that sits in this seat, they're gone by 5 months. And I knew that most of it was a joke, but after a while it just really wore me down, and I got to the point where I was like, do you know what, I'm going to show you all wrong, and I'm still going to be here in a year. But there was a part of me on several occasions that just thought, you know what, this is too much, this is too hard, I'm too sick all the time, I don't want to do this anymore. And hands on heart, felt a few times just throwing in the towel. Thank goodness I didn't, because I wouldn't be here teaching all you guys. So just always remember what it was like to be that NQT yourself. Just remember how hard it was and how overwhelmed you feel, and just put that empathy back into how you would have liked yourself to have been treated all those years ago. So I'm going to call it a day there. Hopefully you've gained a few tips on how you can effectively support the well-being of newly qualified teachers and recently qualified teachers. If you want more help on how to reduce your workload as a teacher or a middle leader, you really should get your hands on this book that I wrote a couple of years ago called Time Smart Teaching. It's available in Amazon exclusively, and it's free if you have subscribed to the Amazon Unlimited. So go and click that, download it now, dip in and out. It will help you enormously. Thanks for listening, and I will be back with more content soon on the theme of well-being and how you can be a more effective middle leader. Have a great weekend. Bye.